This is the Female Flex, brought to you by spiritualvirago.com. Welcome to the Female Flex. I'm your host, Stacey Nichols, founder of spiritualvirago.com. Today I'm going to be doing a review of Kim Eng's course through eckharttolle.com called Resist Nothing. This was a live 4-week course. It contained 4 90-minute sessions, and it included 1 free month membership to eckharttolle.com. I would say it was kind of a beginning level course, but wandered into some intermediate areas. Week 1 was presence through movement, body awareness practice. Week 2, presence through movement, yin yoga poses. Week 3, presence through movement, shaking and releasing negative energy. Week 4, presence through movement, body balancing, and chakra balancing. There were 3 course bonuses, and each week there was also, in addition to the live session, was a pre-recorded video about that week's topic. In a nutshell, the basic concept of the course, Resisting Nothing, is really, she was just modernizing and presenting to a Western audience the Buddhism tradition of the Four Noble Truths. She didn't mention this in the class, but just from my own personal knowledge, I'm kind of aware of, that's what it was. And so the Four Noble Truths are to Buddhism like what the commandments would be to Christianity, for example. So those 4 truths are: 1, that life is painful, life involves suffering. 2, that suffering or pain is caused by, wanting or expecting, by identifying with things. The 3rd noble truth is that enlightenment or mindfulness can stop us from wanting and therefore reduce our pain. And the 4th and final noble truth is that if you follow the Buddhist path or the Eightfold Path, that will help you reach enlightenment and reduce the suffering. So in a nutshell, the overall theme of the course is if you resist nothing, you'll suffer less. So really, if you boiled it down into like 4 words, it would be let go, let God, which is a quote I really like. But essentially the course is just surrendering to what is. So I'm going to go through kind of some gems from Kim from each of the 4 weeks of the course. And then at the end, I'll kind of give like an overall feedback on the course as a whole. So week 1, she talked about how waiting for something to happen and stress are both signs that we are in resistance. I get a lot of stress. I'm not gonna I wake up in the middle of the night sometimes worrying about, is this gonna fall through? Is that gonna happen? Or is this gonna finally, come to be? And so forth. So to me, that was particularly helpful. She talked a lot about the pain body, of course, which is one of Eckhart Tolle's principal teachings. If you haven't read any of his books, definitely pick one up. But the pain body is really just that kind of like baggage, our energy baggage. It's all my baggage from millennium, energy of being woman, burned at the stake and domestic violence. That's all part of, for example, my woman pain body. But I also have, a single mother pain body, and I have a divorced pain body, and I have American pain body, all these things that kind of make up who we are. Daughter of an alcoholic pain body, right? Anyway, so she talked about how our pain bodies can by themselves create resistance, and that's why it's so important to fully experience and process our trauma and our suffering, because if we're not aware of that, it's going to be much harder to get into that place of surrender. A little story that she told, which I like, but she said, and I don't know if this is like a saying or if it was a story, but she was just saying, before enlightenment, laundry. After enlightenment, laundry. Which I love. I've actually heard Phil Jackson, the Lakers coach, who's known as the Zen Master. He has a quote that he references. I don't know if it was the same from the same person or whatever, but the one that Phil Jackson says is, "Before enlightenment, chop wood. After enlightenment, chop wood." So a similar type of teaching that, it's about getting through daily life. Just because you've reach enlightenment doesn't mean he's still not going to deal with getting cut off on the freeway, right? Another thing from week 1 is that everyone experiences duality. And really, duality is a key part of mastery. Because once you kind of reach that upper level of things, you start to understand more the duality, the dual nature of almost everything. For example, if you look at the theme of the course, how do you manifest a certain thing and have a specific goal, which is good to strive, it's healthy, right? To strive towards goals and have those goals for yourself. But how do you live in that space at the same time when you're resisting nothing and not being attached, right? That's a place of duality that we would live within. Week 2 gems. Week 2 was really interesting. She told a story that I really liked about as if your body, your physical form, is a bamboo flute. So it's primarily empty. It just has these holes in it, right? And it's just kind of this inanimate, clunky thing. Without the air blowing through it, it's really nothing, right? So she's saying that our body is like this flute because, we're made up of 98% water and we're comprised of universal energy and all that. So we're really just this vehicle for this air to flow through us, and the air, of course, would be that universal energy. So what she's saying is, when we have an identification with a thought or we have an expectation, that those are this is what she said, that they're like kidney beans clogging up the holes of our flute. And if you get too many of those kidney beans in there, those sort of pain body baggage beans in the flute, then the air cannot flow through the flute anymore, and the tone of the music changes. And she was saying that really the air coming through the flute is creativity. It is inspiration. It's those things that we get from life when we are fully present. Week 3, she said that we must retrain ourselves to process emotions like the way that we digest food. And to me, I thought that was really intelligent, because you think about it, you've got the chewing part, which may be akin to the initial crying of a trauma, right? So you have the chewing, but then after the chewing, you kind of forget about it, right? And it goes into the stomach, where it's dealing with all these harsh acids, and it's like this volcano, it's like volcano with a magma, that's the atmosphere in there, and it's just hard, right? That's really like a hellscape, right? And then after that hellscape, which really, some food can be in there for hours before it gets processed, it's a long journey. And then goes into the intestines, of course, where it's dark and it's like this, scary cave. There are all these turns and corners and you can't see anything, right? And you don't know where you're going. And so I just thought it was a really great comparison. It was a really smart analogy. And ultimately you break down an emotion the way that you break down food, little by little. But I think there's a tendency in society, well, I'm done chewing it, it's gone now. Chewing is 10 seconds of this 24-hour long process, right? She talked about how the fear of feeling, of course, is also a form of resistance, and that if you have a feeling within yourself I want this emotion gone, or I want this part of me gone, that it means you haven't truly surrendered or accepted that personality trait or that emotion. She said that right action is not necessarily intelligence. Right action comes from an intuitive knowing, and in order for, like with the flute and the beans, in order for intuitive knowing to pass through us fully and completely, we have to be in a place of stillness. And she used the word stillness a lot in place of meditation, which I appreciated, but stillness and meditation, I think, are really interchangeable in her teaching. This was really interesting. Okay, so I had this vibe from the beginning of the course, like, she kind of seems like maybe she's Eckhart Tolle's girlfriend, you know? I don't know why I had that feeling. I didn't see anything on the website when I signed up for the course. It was literally just a gut feeling. The first week, she didn't really mention him at all. Second week, few mentions of him. So now we're into the third week, and she's like, yeah, we live together, and this bum is not doing his fair share of the dishes. I mean, for me, honestly, like, just to hear that was, it made the whole class, for me, worth the value of what I paid for it. I really felt like it was, again, like she's saying, before Enlightenment, complain about Eckhart doing the dishes. After Enlightenment, complain about Eckhart not doing the dishes. Hey, it's Stacy. Did you know that I offer speaking and coaching services? So I really feel like, well, first of all, in response to him not doing his fair share of the dishes, she said that she meditated on her expectation of, what a husband should be, or she didn't use the word husband, okay, but, what the nature of the relationship should be and whatever. But I did Google later, so I was curious, and I found out they are indeed married. So anyway, doing the dishes in the home of these two very prolific spiritual teachers. For me, it was really nice to hear that reality, that transparency, and I really appreciated it. So thank you for sharing that, Kim. And finally, from week 3, she just talked about, what is awareness? Because like I was saying, for example, at the beginning of the Four Noble Truths of Buddhism, that awareness is the key out of this constant cycle of life pain. So she was saying that what awareness is simply a power of presence. It's simply she's saying that awareness it doesn't come from studying and practice and knowledge. Awareness comes from knowingness. And knowingness is being present, right? Like Ram Dass says, be here now. Or like Eckhart, in some of his earlier teachings, saying the same thing. I mean, all these teachers are saying overlapping things, of course, but okay, let's get into the final week, week 4. In this week, she talked about the more you cling to happiness, the more you just, I gotta be happy every day and all that, then the more grief and sadness you're going to bring into your life, right? You're being like rigid in this environment this energy, this environment that's meant to be flowy, right? Like a river stream or something. So when you're fixed and you're holding on to this thing in a stationary way, that's when you're going to interrupt that flow and experience not more happiness, but less. You can still have goals, okay? This to me was a really important clarification, because, you really feel, well, if I'm resisting everything, or if I'm resisting nothing, should I still want to make more money? And, should I still want to move to that other house and, whatever the thing is, right? And she just talked about the resist nothing concept comes from in this present moment, I resist nothing. And that, again, it's that the concept is rooted in the stillness, in the practice of meditation, and that awareness that comes from who we really are, which is the universal energy and that presence. And finally, from week 4, she said that it doesn't take any time to get to know who you are, because people say all the time, well, I gotta figure out who I am, and I don't really know, who I am or what I want. And she said that knowing who you are and being who you are, that doesn't take any time at all. That is just awareness. That's just knowingness. That's just going and spending time in stillness and just being. However, what does take time, and this can be a lifetime of time, is understanding our conditioning and our programming, our pain bodies. That's where the investment is, okay? Okay, so let me talk in general about the overall course and, kind of how I feel about it. Kim Eng is a truly masterful spiritual teacher, and I would highly recommend any of her courses, any of her books, any of her retreats. I was really, really impressed. Really impressed. One of my favorite things about her, first of all, I liked her energy. I liked her presence. I liked her vibe. I liked the way she spoke. But one of the things that I particularly appreciated was that she could move like this between, quoting a scripture from the Bible and then comparing that to an Indian tradition, and then she's back again, but the Buddhist version of this, and you're like, how does she know, like, ninja level in all of these different spiritual traditions? But she does. I mean, she's Bible quoting, Buddha quoting, like, just 2 thumbs up, for real. Unfortunately, some of the things that I did not care for from the course was really the way that it was, like, organized. I mean, you'll notice when I went through the topics for each week, like yin yoga poses and body balancing and chakra, like, that's not what was discussed. Nothing that I said in my weekly, that's not what was the topic during the live sessions. The live sessions was about resisting nothing, but all the, like, side material of the course was about these, presence through movement, which is Kim's, like, main niche. But I feel like it was confusing, because why are we talking about that and this? And I don't know. To me, it was just messy. And I felt like I got too many emails from EckhartTolle.com, and it made it really confusing to figure out where I'm supposed to be, what I'm supposed to be doing, what's happening, where's my link, blah, blah, blah. I didn't realize until the second week, and let me just preface this, okay, by saying, like, graduated with honors, honor society president, debate geek, blah, blah, blah. Okay, I'm not a bad student. I really like being a good student. I didn't even realize until the second week that there was homework. She'd mentioned it, and I was like, homework? What home? I didn't get any homework. She didn't mention anything in the class. Well, after looking through, like, all my emails and stuff, I realized on the sidebar of the course page that there were, like, little pre-recorded videos, the ones I mentioned at the beginning. I didn't even realize that until, like, halfway through the class. So I feel like it just could have been more organized. It was extremely bureaucratic getting a question to Kim. Like I mentioned, my question about goal setting in the space of resisting nothing. I asked that question week 1. I asked it again week 2. I asked it again week 3. After week 3, I got an email from the, like, tech team, and they said, your question's been chosen. It's a great question. We're having this private Zoom session version of the class, which was a little confusing, and I had to, like, go back and forth with the person, like, trying to understand. And ultimately, my question still didn't get picked. She touched on what I said in the class, so I did get the question answered, but it wasn't answered in, like, a format where like student raise hand, teacher give answer. It wasn't answered like that. She just happened to cover it in her material. So that was a little bit frustrating. We also weren't really told that there was going to be a meditation at the beginning. So the first class had my 9-year-old daughter next to me, like playing on her tablet and stuff. And I'm like, oh my God, you got to get out of here. I got to meditate, you know, go in the other room, close the door. Like, I'm sorry, but you know, there are single parents taking these classes who need to plan for having having their children be alone for 90 minutes. You know, or you know, their puppies or whatever. So it would have been nice to, especially because it wasn't sold or advertised as a meditation class, it would have been nice to have known that up front, like, hey, you know, make sure you're in a quiet place and you know, you're in a meditation space when we start class. That would have been helpful. All right, last thing. So this class finished 2 days ago. The next day after the final class, I get an email from EckhartTolle.com saying that I'm going to be auto-charged for my free membership if I don't cancel it before whatever day from now. And to me, I mean, I appreciate the email. I guess they certainly didn't have to send one. But to me, I feel like this is not an ethical business practice. It's just not a compassionate business tactic. I run a business. I own a business. I understand that point of view where you need to make money and, you want to be tactical about it. Understand that, appreciate that. Great. Have your business strategies. But be able to sleep at night with a good conscience that you didn't have to make that money by pressuring people or tricking them, Anyway, having said that, I would highly recommend any future courses or any other, trainings, retreats from Kim Eng. I don't know if I would really take another course through EckhartTolle.com. I would, however, recommend, there's a place called SoundsTrue.com, and they have courses and like pre-recorded teachings and online conferences and stuff like that from Eckhart Tolle, from Pema Chodron, from Thich Hat Han, sure I'm not saying that right, and all kinds of other like global leaders in spiritual teachings, Tara Brach, just a whole bunch of people. So for me, I feel like their courses are just a little bit more simple to understand and follow and laid out, and you're getting material from the same level of instructors. So anyway, SoundsTrue.com. This has been, oh, my cat jumps up on the table here. This has been The Female Flex. I'm your host, Stacey Nichols. This is DJ Whiskers. Have a great day.
This has been The Female Flex. Please be sure to like and subscribe.